them doggies, no folks weren't sure we could. We drove them into Billings, said the hell with Hollywood.
When we first heard about plans for the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive, people putting on the drive said this is going to be the biggest cattle drive in history, something we've never seen before. And after it's over, we'll never see anything like it again. Well, if you're like most people, you probably thought, sure, that sounds nice, but can they pull it off? Well, did they ever? And they were right about the drive. It was a genuine Western classic. Here's what we all saw that wonderful week in Montana's Centennial Summer.
And I have to say, the mood here is one of anticipation, excitement, and a little impatience. Everyone's been waiting a very long time for this, and they just can't wait to get on the trail. Thousands, and I mean thousands, of riders, wagons, horses, and cattle gathered here this afternoon. And the people who will ride in this drive, they come from different states and many different backgrounds. But they all have one thing in common: a strong pioneer spirit and a love of the Old West.
I'm just an old cowpuncher, have to listen to his tune. Cow gets high on the bottle of rye, and we get drunk on the moon.
The Montana Valley, filled with thousands of wagons, horses, cattle, cowboys, and cowgirls. They've all come here to relive a piece of the past.
I've been looking forward to this. You know, I don't think I'm going to be around for the next one, so I'm going to go on this one.
Looking forward to it now. You know, it was a little slow all summer. Now we feel good about it.
Everyone's excited. There's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, but...
Up till now, there's been a lot of doubt. There's been a lot of negativism, but all of a sudden, we've got everybody ready to go. Take a look at this group. We're ready to leave tonight if we had to.
Well, they won't have to wait too long. Tomorrow's the big day, and riders spent the afternoon making sure they're ready to go.
That means that our camps have to be torn down here by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, between 7 and 8.
That's Al Eli. He's captain of the Yellow Wagon Circle. Riders in this circle come from Cascade County, Montana, and Eli wants to make sure everyone knows the rules and the schedule.
Times that we're leaving, order that we're leaving tomorrow, where we're camping tomorrow night, how their horses are going to be taken care of, how the feed is coming here tonight. Latigo seems to have it all laid out for us. It looks like it should operate very smoothly tomorrow.
Most people said there's very little left to do. They've been practicing their roping and riding skills, and they're ready to hit the trail.
I got to put my water jug in my saddlebag, and that's about it. And, of course, saddle up the horse.
Getting everything tore down and packed up to go on the next day.
Yes, everything's in order, as far as I know.
Dad helps me rope stuff.
Hey! Oh, the people here are very warm and friendly. You don't even have to ask for the help. They've been helping each other out all afternoon to get ready for this cattle drive. Now, people have come here to participate in the cattle drive for many different reasons. And John Twigg tonight tells us about two brothers who have come here to share what they call a great outdoor experience.
Boys, if there's one thing you've learned during this cattle drive, it's don't mess with the Curtis brothers. You see, these two have been around. Larry's the kid, he's only 67. But Dave's got a little more experience. He's 69. And both are happy to be a part of Montana history.
An undertaking like this, you know, is just hard to visualize even. So it's something we were getting involved.
I think it's a real good experience for us. You know, I think it's great for both of us that we're able to, you know, we're healthy and we're able to be here.
In the beginning, Larry and Dave weren't too keen on the idea. They said they had slept on enough hard ground to last them a lifetime. But as the cattle drive drew closer, they got so excited, they bought a half-dozen head of cattle to be a part of the fun. For these two brothers, this means more than good times and good friends. Raising horses in western Montana, they've seen an entire generation miss an opportunity to experience the West, to live off the land and use these skills to survive. Now there's finally a chance for them to share their way of life.
Otherwise, it's a lost art. It's something we'll never get back again, you know.
Well, you know, I just hadn't even thought about it before, but actually, I think there is a factor there that that they have missed out on, you know, something that years ago was an accepted fact or, you know, taken for granted.
While everyone shares an event of this magnitude, it's only appropriate Dave and Larry share it together.
Maybe we can help each other, you know. If we stick together, we might make it the whole 6-7 days.
My big job the next 6 days, getting him back home again.
With the Cattle Drive and Roundup, I'm John Twiggs for the news station.
Well, here it is, the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive as it moved out early this morning. Organizers have been telling us it's like nothing we've ever seen before and something we'll never see again. So, what do you think? Is the cattle drive great? Well, it looks pretty great from where I'm standing right now. Hi, I'm Gus Koenig. What we've seen today really is history in the making. Now, whether or not you've been a believer while the cattle drive was being planned, you had to believe today. Cattle and wagons moved out late this morning on their way to Billings. And as Patty Corrigan reports, the premier event of Montana's Centennial celebration is a dream come true for many.
Sure, a person shouldn't have brought along his gloves.
It was a clear, crisp morning that welcomed the travelers, and it was all here for them. Their fantasies come true, right down to the smoke on the griddle. Montana was traveling back 100 years to travel 60 miles and taking along anyone who wanted to come. These people weren't just traveling cross-country, they were traveling through time on the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive and Wagon Train. What brings you out here on the cattle drive? What appeals to you about it?
Oh, it's different. I'd say it'll probably be the last one. I doubt if I'll be around here another 100 years.
Hello.
Actually, it was the old cowboy pictures that we were brought up on and stuff like that. We have the opportunity now to be like cowboys and cowgirls, so here we are.
I used to ride on a farm when I was a kid. I always liked it. I just don't get enough of it in at the time. This gives me the opportunity.
This is a great thing. We're never going to see this again. See, we'll never ride another 100-year centennial. So it's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance, that's right. And people are just about ready to get on that trail, and when they're done at the end of the week, they'll all have something to take home with them.
I've met people from California and several different places, and it's interesting to meet a lot of people.
Well, I'm quite sure we will take away a real appreciation for how this state and all this country was settled. I have a feeling of, you know, it won't be for a year, but it'll be for 6 days, and you know, the effort that it made to make this country, I think we'll have a lot better appreciation for it.
You make a circle around and get in behind, and I'll get number 4 right up in here.
And with that, they were off. The Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive and Wagon Train off to make history of its own. Near Roundup, I'm Patty Corrigan reporting for the news station.
Cattle, cowboys, and wagons filled the streets of Roundup this morning. As the news station's Jen Marnowski reports, when she was there, that rolling herd of man and beast went through the city streets, headed for the trail.
People started lining the streets of Roundup at 7:30 this morning, staking out their place on the street to make sure they got the best view of the wagon train parade. Then, everyone waited.
How long have you been sitting out here waiting for this parade to start?
About 3 hours.
3 hours?
Well, they said it was going to start at 7:30, so.
While waiting for the parade to begin, there was a lot that we could do. Many people worked up a hearty appetite. A lot of people were busy buying cattle drive souvenirs, and still others were taking pictures on top of this bull. Sir, where are you from?
Choctaw, Oklahoma.
And what about the cattle drive? What do you think about that?
I think it's the greatest thing that's happened to Montana. I love it.
Many of the parade goers came from around here, Billings or Roundup, and from all over Montana. But like Mr. Owens, a lot traveled a long way to see this.
We're from York, South Carolina.
And why did you decide to come up for the cattle drive?
Well, we thought it would be real exciting. We've never been out west, and this is our first trip, and we're really enjoying it. It's beautiful out here.
I'm waiting for the parade and going to shoot quite a few pictures and go home happy. I really like those buffalo burgers.
That goes on my
They're very tasty.
After hours of waiting, eating, and buying souvenirs, people started getting antsy. Not only were they lining the streets, but they were in them, trying to get the first glance of the wagon train as it entered Roundup. Let the parade begin.
Put one guy on each side, one guy over here, and then one guy.
When that first group of Longhorns came through, they came through, their heads up, and they were going. They were headed for Billings. I loved it.
How were you feeling then?
My heart was going 90 miles an hour. I was just real shaky watching it. After all this work and everything everybody's done, it's fantastic.
What's it like being in the parade?
Oh, I think it looks great. We got a lot of spectators out, and everybody's having a good time. Looks like the group ahead of us is going good. We're just glad to be here.
By tomorrow, there'll be only a few trailers and maybe a few visitors left here. And once again, Roundup will be just that, Roundup, Montana. Only now it'll go down in history as the start of the great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive. In Roundup, I'm Jen Marnowski, reporting for the news station.
And while some of us would rather be riding than working, there are people out here who will tell you that spending several hours a day on the back of a horse or riding in a wagon is work. And then there's our man, Paul Kenny. He spent today riding and working. If his mother could only see him now.
Dear Mom, day one of the cattle drive and all is well. I'm aboard the media wagon. A wily old coot named Ray Myers is our driver. He reminds me a little bit of Grandpa Kenny. He's a non-stop storyteller who's been around cattle for most of his life. This drive is a dream come true for old Ray.
We started at 4 in the morning getting their teams out, and they get them unharnessed about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I wouldn't trade what I've done in my life for a lot of things.
Mom, you might not believe this, but it's true. The wagon train is about 5 miles long. 5 miles. There's around 200 wagons in the bunch and over 2,000 people. It's quite a sight and has been described in a variety of ways.
Remind me of Woodstock, the Woodstock of cowboys.
Haul the wagons and let the wheels turn. Greatest thing in the USA.
Other things happening along the trail, Mom. Uh-oh. Just a second. I don't believe this. There's an Indian attack. It doesn't look like they'll attack, Mom, but they could be back. Anyway, as I was saying, no major problems along the drive so far. A couple of wagons broke down, a few people got bucked off their horses, and some people complained about having to go. You know, go. But out here, there's no place to go.
Yoo-hoo! Turn me loose, on. Never be the same.
Oh yeah, Mom, this is Timberjack Joe, a real mountain man.
We're making history, we're reliving history, and it'll never be like this again.
Mom, I'm taking lots of pictures to send home. I wish you could see them now. P.S. Mom, when you get this letter, please send money. Along the trail, Paul Kenny, reporting for the news station.
Now, a lot of people involved in the drive were up about 2 hours before the sun today, and some of them were getting things set up for tonight, even before the herd and the riders left Roundup. As the news station Cindy Astle reports, it takes a lot of work to provide a home on the range for more than 10,000 horses, cattle, and people.
You guys outriders for anybody? Right here.
The wagons arrived shortly before 2:30, ahead of schedule. But they weren't the first people in camp. Others were here early this morning to get everything set up. About 3,000 horses will have to be fed and watered. Each horse will eat about 15 to 20 pounds of feed a day. Jack Gist is responsible for the horses in the brown wagon circle. He says it's hard work, and he's not sure why he volunteered.
It just gets in your blood, so.
Water is another necessity at camp. Over 200 troughs are being filled for the horses and cattle. Workers say they'll use 60 to 70,000 gallons of water a day.
A lot of people said it was impossible to water these cattle, and of course I've worked out a plan that we could water 10,000 head. But I might say I'm glad they don't have 10,000 today, because that would be a real tough job.
People have to eat too, so we can't forget the grub and fixins. Tonight's Cowboys and Riders will chow down on beans, salad, and 4,500 ribs.
Beef ribs, big ones, about like that, big old beef ribs.
It took the horse wranglers in their wagons just 3 hours to cover the 10 miles from Roundup. One rider says it was an easy trip, but he says everyone is looking forward to a restful evening in camp. At the Montana Centennial Cattle Drive, I'm Cindy Astle, reporting for the news station.
In just a minute, we'll meet a man who's helping to make this home on the range. We'll be right back on the trail. The cattle drive has a sort of split personality. On the one hand, it's commemorating a simpler period in our state's history, but nothing about the drive is simple. I mean, moving all these thousands of people and animals over road and rangeland, and then there's the matter of making sure they all have enough to eat and drink. Well, that's what Mike Maloney gets to do this week. Make sure all the stock and people have enough to eat and drink. How did you get into this, Mike?
I don't know. I went down to the office and talked to a few of my friends down there, and pretty soon they asked me if I'd help them get involved, and here I am.
How many people are involved in setting up the feed and drink part?
Well, I suppose we have over 100 because we have the people that are handling the water, Jim Sindelar and his crew. Then I never really see, I only see Jim, but he's got trucks running day and night. They're hauling over 200,000 gallons a day in here, just water for the animals alone, not counting the people.
How's it going so far?
Everything seems to be running smooth. We've got a truck that we can't find for the hay, but it's they did locate it about 20 minutes ago, and it'll be in here. And other than that, we've got everything handled, it appears.
I suppose, as with anything of this size, you plan all you can, and then you still have to adjust as you're going. What adjustments have you had to make so far on day one?
Well, we got the ice truck in behind the cattle, and that was unfortunate, but those things happen. The other thing that happened was the truck broke down, or they couldn't find the feed truck to get it in here. We had a contingency plan. We had another truck loaded, and it appears it was they located it, and it's in here. So,
when we were talking earlier today, you told me one thing you found out is that this is pretty much a 24-hour-a-day job.
Yeah, just because people get tired and go to sleep, things keep rolling. The Budweiser people, they keep moving their tent at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. The water trucks are running all night. We've got people on the gates on a 24-hour basis, and the cooks are up at 3 in the morning, so they have breakfast for the people anywhere between 5:30 and 6. So the camp really never shuts down.
You think it's going to get easier or tougher as the week goes on?
We're hoping it'll get a little bit easier. Number one, we're in a real cramped quarter here, and everybody are just kind of piled up. But as we get out across the divide and down into the flats, we're going to have a lot more room to work, and people will be kind of more in tune with what we're trying to do as far as distributing the food and the feed for the horses.
They tell us we'll never see anything like this again. If there were one, would you get involved again?
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I kind of think that'd be a lot of, maybe we should talk about a 10-year reunion, should we?
Okay, Mike Maloney, thank you very much. Good luck doing a heck of a job.
Thank you.
Now, one thing that we've learned out here today, several members of our crew, is why cowboys dress the way they do. Hats, long sleeve shirts, it's protection from the sun and the dust. More than 10,000 cattle, horses, and people are all in camp now, and so is the news station Cindy Astle. Cindy, when I left the camp a few hours ago, I got the impression that not too many people would be settling in right about now.
Well, they've been having a great time out here. I think they're a little tired, but it's been a very good and successful day here at the Cattle Drive. And as we know, it all started this morning. It was a long, exciting day for participants and spectators in Roundup. It took 2.5 hours for the wagons and cattle to get settled in the campground this evening. But once people unpacked, they set off to satisfy hungry stomachs with some big old beef ribs.
The ribs are great. Matter of fact, everything's been really good up to this point.
After supper, it's time to sit down and talk about the day. Just about everyone we've talked to says the cattle drive's been even better than they ever expected.
Oh, I think it's a tremendous accomplishment. We've done real well, and everything's been well organized.
The people are so nice. The people are so friendly and nice here, and we appreciate being here and glad to be one of the bunch.
Some of us a little skeptical, that might have a little confusion, but it didn't. We had a good move right along.
A lot of people, a lot of different horses, a lot of different wagons. It's been real good.
And as nighttime fell, it was time to gather around the campfire for a story or two. Soon it will be time to turn in for a good night's sleep. After all, everyone's got to ride another 10 miles tomorrow. And everyone says they're ready to go. They said it was a pretty easy ride today, and they wanted to ride some more. They want to put some more miles on those horses and wagons, Gus.
Second day on the trail, time to break camp again.
Getting everything to fit and make everything look good is the problem.
Pancakes, eggs, for everybody. No matter how good the meals have been, today's has to taste better after the first day on the trail. The first day on the trail was fun, but tell me about how sore you are.
Where do you want me to start?
It's really painful. It's really painful. But of course, some were in better shape than others.
Wouldn't miss it for anything.
How sore are you?
I'm not sore. I've been riding for 3 months straight.
Yeah, after spending a day on one of these, you'd expect to be a little bit sore. There were a couple more serious injuries, though, broken hip and a broken shoulder, but 2 riders out of a couple thousand really doesn't sound that bad. And the medical team says the riders may have survived what could prove to be the worst day.
I think it'll get better as the week goes on. I think everybody will get their bugs ironed out. It won't be bad.
Okay. I guess I think that perhaps it'll be worse today or tomorrow because people are over secure with their horses that don't have the experience and will take more risks.
And everybody's ready for day 2. Traveling with the wagon train, I'm Patty Corrigan reporting for the news station.
And day 2, I think everyone agrees that the worst could be behind them now that they've gotten their legs underneath them. I think they feel a lot better, and I think they're looking for a good 6 days coming up as we head in towards Billings. But, you know, if you visit with 3 different wagon trains, you're going to meet 3 different groups of very interesting people. Well, we ran across a family that has roots spread across the entire state of Montana, but they all came together for this special event. When you look at this wagon train, you see 3 generations of the Lee family. The roots are with 79-year-old Howard Lee, a man who treasures this state and its past. He built this entire wagon from scratch. Recapturing the Old West is what keeps him going.
I've done this all my life. I restored the back wagons, and it just comes natural to me. It's the only thing I really care about is these horses and wagons. In my mind, that's why my youngest boy, I finally got him to drive the 4 horses so he can handle them. I wanted to leave that behind me.
The next generation to preserve the Old West is Tom. He married into the family and got the Old West fever when he came across this stagecoach. This is the original coach that ran the Montana line in the 1800s.
We do a lot of the wagons and a lot of wagon trains, and we run a lot of fairs with the horses, so it was a natural extension for us to do this.
We ain't been able to get Billings TV for 2 months.
We got the whole Lee family in this thing right now. We've got all the brothers, everybody is here, and it's a fun family project because some of the horses are owned by my father-in-law, some are owned by my brother-in-laws. Everybody participates in hauling them, and we share the horses. We move them from Hamilton and Forsyth, and it is a family affair, which makes it more fun.
But what about the future? Don't worry, there's 6-year-old Cody Lee, youngest member of this entire wagon train. This Western stuff is easy. Just ask him.
I only been doing this for about 2 whole days, and 3 whole days, and I'm getting pretty good.
Circling the beer trough is where you'll find the drovers after a long day on the trail. Herding 2,700 head of cattle can work up quite a thirst.
You never see it. Well, you won't. No. You'll never see that many top ends.
For some of the cowboys, beer just isn't enough to wash that dusty taste from their mouths. A good old-fashioned outdoor bath is what's needed. But whether it's a bath or a beer, these drovers deserve it. After 2 days on the trail, there's been no major problems at all getting these cattle here. 100 of the best cowboys from around the state are obviously doing their job. And the next few days. Trail boss Jay Stovall says the first day of the drive was the toughest, and it really wasn't that tough at all.
Not really. From here on out, it's been the easiest. The first day was absolutely the toughest because the cattle were not trail broke. We had to go through some really rough country and a lot of timber. And little things like when we left yesterday morning, there was sirens blowing that shouldn't have been blowing.
Stovall says the only other real problem along the drive has been slowing down the cattle. Some are eager to end this drive, but that's where the cowboys come in.
See, you have to think like a cow and figure out what he wants to do and let him think that he's doing what he wants to do, and then you get it done.
So you outsmart him.
That's right.
Along the trail, Paul Kenny reporting for the news station. And someone else is also doing a good job today, a marvelous job, and a matter of fact, a preacher held a wedding in camp. I kid you not. Over the last 2 days, we've seen a lot of things on the trail, horses trampling their riders, and cowboy poets singing at night. But on this evening, a wedding took place. 2,000 people witnessed the blessed event, and only here at the cattle drive can you see something like that. It was everyone come as they are, and they did. The guests with beers in hand and hats on top, the groom in Wranglers, the bride carrying a bouquet of wildflowers. This was to be the wedding of Eric Parrish and Debbie Doble, both from Eureka, Montana.
You pledge your support and encouragement to the covenant commitment that Debbie and Eric are making together. If so, please say, we do. We do.
Thank you. How did this all come to be? Eric suggested the wedding, but only as a joke.
I heard on the radio there was going to be a cattle drive, so I called up Deb and I said, God, wouldn't it be neat if somebody got married on a cattle drive? So that'd be kind of neat. And she said, yeah. She kind of took it from there, and about a half hour later, she said, it's on. We're getting married on the cattle drive. And I says, no, and I don't know. I says, let's just get engaged on this cattle drive and married on the next one. And she thought about that for a minute, and she said, no way. So then I got stuck.
No, he's been stuck for 7 years. That's how long we've been together. So we just decided, this would be neat to celebrate Montana Centennial. And, we wanted to get married this year anyway. So we decided to do her.
By your covenant promises shared with us.
The preacher called this one of the weirdest weddings he's ever seen on a cattle drive with 2,000 nameless guests. But everything went off without a hitch.
In sickness and in health. In plenty and in want. In joy and in sorrow. As long as we both shall live. Do we have a ring?
Debbie got her ring. Eric wanted a watch. And with that, the two became Mr. and Mrs. Eric Parrish.
You may kiss.
The two plan to spend their honeymoon where else but along the trail. Sitting in the lead wagon and joining me now is Wally McCrae, a cowboy poet who's been out here for the last 2 nights entertaining the troops. Wally, I turn the mic over to you. Give us one of your poems.
What does reincarnation mean? A cowpoke asked his friend. His pal replied, it happens when your life has reached its end. They comb your hair and wash your neck and clean your fingernails and lay you in a padded box away from life's travails. The box in you goes in a hole that's been dug in the ground, and reincarnation starts in when you're planted neath a mound. Them clods melt down just like your box, and you who is inside, and then you're just beginning on your transformation ride. In a while, the grass will grow up on your rendered mound, till someday on your moldered grave a lonely flower is found. And say a hoss should wander by and graze upon this flower that once was you, but now's become your vegetative bower. Well, the posy that the hoss done ate up with his other feed makes bone and fat and muscle, essential to the steed, but some is left that he can't use, and so it passes through and finally lays upon the ground this thing that once was you. Then say by chance I wanders by, and I sees this on the ground, and I wonders and I ponders at this object that I found. Why, thinks of reincarnation, of life and death and such. And I come away concluding, Slim, you ain't changed all that much.
What y'all think? Pretty good? Wally's got some fans down here, lots and lots of them. I thank you very much. This is just some of the things that are going on down here. The poetry, the singing, the wedding earlier today, and this will be going on all the way through Saturday. Friday nights is the last night out here, and then Saturday morning everybody heads into Billings. And we'll be back with more live coverage starting tomorrow at 5:30.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Wagons are just rolling in as we speak. It's been, as we understand, kind of a rough day on the trail. The terrain was a little tougher than it was in the previous 2 days, and we understand they had to put the wagons into single file and take their turns as they went up many of the steeper hills today. But as you mentioned, Gus, it's halfway over, and they're looking forward to getting into Billings on Saturday. You know, for many of the people on the Montana Centennial Cattle Drive, this event is something of a novelty because they've never really seen or done anything like this before. For others, though, it's just another drive. They've done things like this 1,000 times. Now, for these people, herding and roping cattle is a way of life. And tonight, Cindy Astle introduces us to a man who truly deserves the title of cowboy.
The wrangler's still trying to catch his horse.
A Cowboys' Day starts early, just after daybreak. First there's camp to break down, and then they have to rope the horses they'll use for the day.
Need a horse with some endurance. It surely has to be a patient horse with some cow sense, because there's a lot of kind of just routine follow along riding, and a nervous, temperamental horse would be, you know, he'd be hurting himself and be probably bothering the cattle quite a lot, which is also of concern.
Ed Miller loves his life as a cowboy. He lives to spend each day outdoors in the wide open spaces of Montana, riding his horse and herding his cattle.
The livestock business has been my life, and when you care for the animals and they become a part of your life, it just is a natural spin-off.
Herding cattle is a part of Ed's heritage. His family's been in the livestock business for years and operates a ranch in Epsorki. Miller says people often forget that herding cattle is still very much a part of American life, not just a piece of the past.
Cattle are still handled this way on the larger ranches. People are unaware of that because it's an everyday routine job.
Miller says he hopes his son will carry on the livestock tradition in his family. He says the life of a cowboy is physically hard. It's not glamorous, and it won't make you rich. But he says he can't imagine living his life any other way.
You like what you do, you're the luckiest person in the world. A lot of people can't say they enjoy their work, and I do.
At the Montana Centennial Cattle Drive, I'm Cindy Astle, reporting for the news station.
Well, thanks, Cindy. Of course, what we're trying to do is this week give you a taste of just about everything that's going on out here on the drive. First on Monday, it was the parade, and then last night, the big wedding ceremony. And you just got a drover's eye view of what it's like out here on the trail. Now Jen Marnowski gives us a glimpse of what it's like living out on the cattle drive.
Well, I don't know about anyone else on this drive, but I've been looking for a few modern conveniences. Checked a few wagons for
Anything in here like
Microwave? Not even close to it.
Had some breakfast this morning, and of course I washed my own dishes. Sure won't see a dishwasher out here. And dirty clothes? Let's just say camp is starting to smell like camp. Connie Moore is a mom, and she says she's feeling a little different these days.
Yeah, extremely much like a pioneer woman. It's been really fun, but we've been having to rough it out here and wash our dishes and cook our food. I'm used to having a dishwasher. I'm used to having clean clothes on every morning, and it's different. And for this long of a spell, too, I'm not used to that.
Even though we're out on the trail now, if you look around, there are a lot of signs that we're still living in 1989. Today, Connie's cooler got put away before she could grab the lunch meat.
I'm sorry, the cooler went.
We're really roughing it today, huh? They need sandwiches.
We're really roughing it today. Okay, you don't have to have one.
Even the kids say Mom's holding up pretty well.
She's been doing pretty good. She kind of gets kind of grouchy sometimes, but otherwise she's pretty good.
Well, Connie Moore seems to be doing a great job adjusting to this trail life. In fact, most of the women we talk to seem to be doing pretty well. If I was in their place, I don't know if I'd be doing such a good job. On the trail, I'm Jen Marnowski, reporting for the news station.
We do have some politicians out on the trail, and with us right now is Montana Senator Max Baucus, who has been on the trail since the very start. Max, I understand you even had to alter your schedule a little bit. You're really into this.
That's right, Jay. I planned on spending a couple of days here, but frankly, it was so much fun. And I can't remember having this much fun in 2 or 3 years. I called up my office early this morning, about 6 in the morning, and I said, guess what? I'm staying. You got to take care of things back there yourself. And so I'm here and having just a great time.
And you were telling me you're not a stranger to herding cattle. This is kind of a throwback to your younger days.
Well, when I was younger, I grew up on a ranch outside of Helena, and very much enjoyed working livestock. In fact, I didn't particularly like taking the city folks out for rides. When I was riding horses those days, I much preferred just working cattle. And it's just good to get back into that again. It brings back all those memories of just, the smell of the sagebrush and the dust and the grit. And I found that steers today are the same as steers were 25 years ago. And after a while, it all comes back to you again. It's been just terrific.
Now, you're one of the few people out here on the trail who's packing a weapon. Show us this pistol that you've got on your hip here.
Yeah, this is it's a commemorative Colt. It's a Colt 45 made, believe it or not, in 1889. It's 100 years old. It's engraved, and we're going to auction it off at the end of the drive.
It's beautiful. It's got a lot of engraving on it, and but you're not packing any real bullets with it.
No, I'm not. But yesterday I realized I'm in the wrong profession, because a little boy, must have been about 5, 6 years old, walked up to me and said, "Are those real bullets?" And I looked down to him and I said, "You bet." And he looked up to me and said, "Wow." So I then realized, Max, forget the Senate, because you got to be a cowboy.
Speaking of the Senate, I know you've been in touch with your office, like you told us earlier. What's been the reaction in Washington? I know the cattle drive's been getting some national coverage.
Well, my office tells me that everybody's talking about it in Washington, D.C. It's been on all the networks and the papers, and it's a big deal.
What's your favorite thing about being out here, and what are you looking forward for the most over the next couple days?
Basically, it's getting with the soil, the earth, the people, just the spirit of the state, smells. It's what Montana is. It's and for a whole week of it too, and also when the telephone doesn't ring and when you're not on a schedule. I cannot remember being at peace so much now as I have in the last several years. It's just what it's all about. And frankly, I'm very excited about this drive, because I think it's going to help our state be very confident in something that's very much Montana, and it's going to give our state just a sense of destiny and a sense of purpose, which is going to go a long way.
Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, Max. Looks like you're having a great time.
I had a great time. Thanks, Jay.
Montana Senator Max Baucus, who told me earlier that he saw a pay telephone on the side of a fence post along the way, so apparently we're not all that far from civilization.
Yeah, that's right. One of the reporters from one of the morning news shows was calling, so he'd call in for the show.
Well, there you have it. Our report concluding here, day 3 winding down. Everyone's getting ready for a little grub tonight, so we'll check back with you tonight about 10 o'clock. Back to you guys.
Great. Thanks very much, Jay.
You know, a lot of the memories taken home will be of the time spent around the campfire here every night. It's a time of sharing with each other with songs and talks of the trail. It's called down home entertainment, and you won't find a boombox or a TV around here. Still get nothing. Day 3 of Montana's Great Centennial Cattle Drive is winding down, but with the 60-mile track now more than half over, spirits along the trail are running high.
This has been a beautiful experience. Just watching people work together as well as they have is just a heartwarming experience. It's too bad the whole state couldn't have participated fully, because it's something that will just build memories and be talked about for the next 100 years.
We're getting along fine. We're enjoying it. And we're very dirty.
With another day under the belt, evening brings a welcome break from the long, dusty ride. It's time for relaxation, a little music, some tender, loving care, and a good old-fashioned Montana shower.
She's a Montana woman, boy.
As the cowboys and cowgirls kick back to reflect on the week's events, it's time to put those feelings into words and song, courtesy of Mary Pimperton of Belt and Mike Morris of Augusta.
And we always will remember Montana's cattle drive, the 89 Centennial, if we come out alive. And we rounded up them doggies, no folks weren't sure we could. We drove them into Billings at the hell with Hollywood.
As you can see, it was a spectacular sunset out here on the drive tonight. something that hopefully a lot of people will get to experience tomorrow night, a special event happening tomorrow night. It's called Family Night, and with us to talk about that now is Jim Scott from the Latigo Corporation. Jim, tell us what's on the agenda.
Jay, tomorrow night is Family Night, and it's an opportunity for the family of the participants that are on the drive and the members of the community at large to come out and see what happens at a cattle drive camp.
Now, the logistics of this cattle drive obviously have been a big headache. What about the people trying to come out here tomorrow night? What should they do, and what's the best thing that they can do to make it easy on themselves, so to speak?
Like many of these things about the cattle drive, Jay, this is something we haven't done before, so we don't have a lot of experience to draw on. But tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, we'll open the doors, open the gates, and the people will drive out about 7 to 9 miles north of the Kmart at the Heights. There's a road called the Shepherd-Acton Road. Take a left there and look for the signs. Then they'll come in. We'll be able to go. The people will be able to go around the camp from 5 until 7 to 8 when the entertainment starts. There is a show tomorrow night that starts at 7. We're going to ask people to be out of the camp at 8 and enjoy the show. Then when the show is over, then people will be leaving and going back home.
It's not free. There is an admission charge, but there are also some Gazette coupons for a discount.
There is an admission charge. It's $15 per car, $5 off with a coupon. If people carpool out or take a van, it's $3 per person or motorcycle. There also are buses that are coming out tomorrow, leaving from the Upper Metro parking lot at $10 a piece, and that includes the bus ride plus the entertainment. The Gazette coupons all give you a discount on those.
Any idea how many people you're expecting?
I don't know how many people to expect. There is limited space available, so at some point, if there are too many folks, we'll just have to say that we're full and turn people away. I just would say, too, that people will have to respect the environment, respect the land, respect the livestock that are here, understanding that we're going into a rural environment and ask them to respect that.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Jim. Jim Scott from the Latigo Corporation. Come on out tomorrow night. It should be a spectacular day 4 of the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive. And, of course, KTVQ will be here live all day long. Hope you join us tomorrow night. Let's go back to Gus at the studio.
I'll sure be there. Thanks a lot, Jay. All week, we've seen people from all over the nation and the world. They're in Montana this week for the biggest centennial event of them all. And I guess we should include Jen Marnowski of our staff in that group of folks who've come from far and wide. I guess we could say, gosh, Jen, you're not in Iowa anymore.
No, Gus, I guess I'm not in Iowa. I'm right here in Montana. And as you can see, everybody's rolling back into camp after a day on the trail. It's been another gorgeous day out on the trail. And you can see they're getting ready behind me for tonight's concerts. The closer the drive gets to Billings, the more people that come out to see it from the viewing areas. Among those people today were 300 kids from Lockwood. The news station's Paul Kenny reports those kids thought the drive was pretty neat.
Oh, you know,
It never fails. Kids get to have all the fun. These youngsters from Lockwood Primary School, about 300 strong, are on a field trip, getting a ground-level view of the cattle drive. Not only did these first and second graders get to see the cattle, the horses, and the wagons, but they also got to meet up with a few of the cowboys. And let's not forget about Mountain Man Timberjack Joe.
Turn me loose, boy. Never be the same.
How about that? All kinds of cowboys and cowgirls. You doing? Are you going to be able to stay up for watch the whole herd? Yep. Today and tomorrow. Kids, have a good day. All right, come back.
We're hoping that the children can get a taste and a flavor of history in the making. And we've been talking about the Centennial with Montana becoming a state in the 1889s, and we were hoping that the children would understand a little bit about Montana and how it was made and formed. And
one thing's for sure, these kids are learning about Montana history, and they're having fun doing it. Some kind of field trip, huh, cowboy?
Howdy.
Howdy to you, too. Another thing about these youngsters, there seems to be a consensus about what they like most about this here drive.
The steer and the wagons and the horses. The horses. Like seeing cows.
These kids also like to sing. During a slow moment in the drive, they entertain themselves by striking up a tune.
Scratch, scratch, yum, yum.
Only on a cattle drive can everyone have a good time. Along the drive, Paul Kinney reporting for the news station.
The kids aren't the only people on the drive having a good time. In fact, I think everybody that's been out here during the week has been having a great time so far. But a group of men that have been riding along with the group just in case are also having a great time. Patty Corrigan reports that although the sheriff's deputies haven't had much to do, they're enjoying themselves as much as the people in the drive, and they're going along right with the rest of the group.
During the day, the business is getting to the next camp. But at night, camp takes on the personality of the Old West town, right down to the saloon. The law's been on the trail all week, keeping the peace. But unlike the stories you've heard about the Old West, these people aren't much for fighting and causing trouble.
Too, when they come in, you know, they're ready to relax a little bit. There's not too much fire left in them.
We've had a few horse problems and a couple of problems with wagons breaking down. We've had one arrest since Monday morning, and that's it.
This week in the saddle has been a trip back in time for these lawmen, getting a chance to see how the men who kept the peace back then lived. So you can relate to these guys now, though, huh?
Oh, I sure can. I sure can. It was, it may seem glamorous, but it was a lot of work back then. I don't envy those guys.
Wagon Train and Cattle Drive were organized to help us celebrate our heritage and try to help us understand a little bit better just what it took to settle this part of the country. And somehow, just by doing their job all week, these guys got the same chance as everybody else. North of Billings, I'm Patty Corrigan reporting for the news station.
Hard work and long hours go into a day on the trail, and nobody knows this better than 4 women in the Brown Wagon Circle. Let me introduce you to the all-female team on the trail.
I'm Betty Jo Connor from Chinook. Linda Koski from Glasgow. Laura Jersum from Havre.
Gudrun Eriksson from Chinook.
The ladies' wagon also includes Cheryl Reese and...
Wheaton Strasser.
Okay.
The madam.
The madam. You're the madam, huh?
I'm the madam. This is the menopause moment.
Okay, wait. Your name is Weed?
Yeah.
Is that a nickname or is that your real name?
Well, do I have to be truthful?
Yes, you do.
That's my name.
Okay. How'd you get a name like Weed?
My dad named me that.
Okay. Any significance to it?
I didn't walk when I was little. I rolled quite a bit. You're getting kind of personal on this thing.
These ladies know their stuff, and when comparing themselves to men...
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
And how did they get together? Well, a few of the women knew each other from home, and a couple joined in at the start of the drive. Betty Jo Connor is the leader of the team.
It's been working fine. Everybody has their job. I take care of the team, and the other gals do the packing and getting things ready, and when it's time to go, we're all set up and ready to go.
Okay, great.
And they haven't had to wait for us. We hope that we know of. I love this big team. So are you riding with the menopause wagon today?
We're just going to get you at the start.
Tired. I mean, we need some recruits. It's a dirty job out here, but we're glad we're doing it.
Leading a wagon on this trail is definitely not a piece of cake. Sam Obrecht and Jay Schneider are in the wagon in front of the menopause women. They say the women are holding up real well and are doing the job themselves.
Pulling the wagon Betty's driving don't have brakes either. I mean, she's driving that team up and down them hills. We get alongside her in case ever something happens, but she's doing pretty good, I think.
It's been like traveling with the all-women wagon behind you.
Pretty wild. They're fun. They're a lot of fun.
I even got to join in on the fun.
You are officially nominated to the menopause wagon. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Welcome. But all of this craziness aside for a minute.
You know, it was 4 women thrown together. None of us knew each other. It was just kind of, and it just, we couldn't have been handpicked, I don't think, and got along better. And we've had our tears and we've had our laughter, and it's just, it's been great. It's going to be a lot of tears Saturday night. It's going to be a tough goodbye for all of us, I'm sure.
If you've been wishing you can be a part of all of this, tonight you can be. It's family night. And of course, the biggest thing going out tonight is a concert featuring Hoyt Axton and Chub Willie.
While the cattle and horses grazed less than 10 miles north of Billings, hundreds of people from the Magic City accepted the invitation to come visit the cow camp and to enjoy some high-powered entertainment. Patty Corrigan of our staff's been out there all day, so Patty, could you use a little more elbow room tonight?
You're the king of the understatement, I tell you, Gus. 100 people, hundreds of people, thousands of people took them up on their invitation to join us tonight. And yeah, we could use a little bit more elbow room as we got a concert going on behind us. There was only one road in, and so if I told you the going was slow, it would be a gross understatement. One person told me it took, well, more than one person told me it took an hour and a half to get to the parking space after turning off Route 87.
Well, I think some of us anticipated some problems, and perhaps the right people to take the tickets and direct traffic from the concert promotion staff didn't get into position early enough. It's really hard to call at this point. I'm just trying to solve problems along with the highway patrol right now, and I don't really know what went wrong, but we're going to try and get them straightened out.
Captain Brennan said at one time traffic was backed up all the way back to Billings. We'll have to ask some people who were actually in that line if that was really true. People are starting to leave now, and hopefully things will be a bit easier to get out than they were to get in. But they all got here. They're having a real good time and a lot of fun with a lot of music.
Welcome to Cowboy Woodstock. Time for the city to meet the trail.
Now you're going to have a good time?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Positive?
Yeah.
Okay, you go have a good time.
Okay.
Thanks. Family night. A chance for those who couldn't ride along to join in.
I think it's terrific. Once in a lifetime, I'll tell you. It's just great. Man, we wouldn't have missed this for anything, you know.
You had to come down and see it all for yourself.
You bet. Our whole bunch would never have forgiven us had we not come down.
Well, I wish I'd have taken part in some of this stuff earlier. But, you know, at first the momentum wasn't there, I don't think, and now the momentum is there, and I'm excited about it.
1, 2, 3.
The Cowboys.
And very, very sedate and nice, and everybody's been the same, and now it's just like a big fair. It's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the Old West anymore.
Nope. It's not the Old West out there either, but it's pretty close.
But regardless, you got to admit, it's a heck of a way to end a week on the trail.
The trip through time is arriving in the present. It doesn't look like Montana 100 years ago anymore. You don't have to look very far to see all the signs of civilization. The great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive is coming home. Good evening, I'm Gus Koenig. You know, Monday night in camp, it was like everyone's first day at school. Boy, were these people excited. Well, now, on this last night out on the trail, things have changed, and everyone feels a great deal differently about the drive and what it means.
Talking about it, and I didn't really think that it'd be such a big deal until the other night when I drove up there, and then I've been here ever since.
You were growing up in the Netherlands as a kid. Did you think you'd be doing something like this?
I always dream about it, and I never imagined that I was the person when I stay first on the range, and after that I go on the cattle drive. I never imagined that, no.
Even on the trail all day long, you come up and everybody wants to know who you are, where you're from, and having a real good time.
I think it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened. Too bad it couldn't have been a few days longer.
It's met all my expectations and more. And we decided we're going to have our own cattle drive from Billings to Miles City, so if anybody wants to join us.
And I'm really glad Montana pulled it off. I think we were real successful, and I think it was a great tribute. And I say happy birthday, Montana. You did us proud.
And that's a fact. Last weekend, Roundup hosted the Great Centennial Cattle Drive. This weekend, it's Billings' turn. And as the news station Cindy Astle reports, everyone's ready for the arrival of the cattle, the wagons, and the horses.
Campers and motorhomes are already lining up along Main Street for tomorrow's arrival of the cattle drive. City officials say they're ready. Assistant City Administrator John Lawton says additional police, fire, and emergency crews will be on hand, as well as a number of street cleaners. As the cattle drive comes down Main Street through the Heights, the cattle will use the 3 lanes on the east side of the street. The 3 lanes on the west side of the street will be used for emergency traffic and drovers only. And city officials are suggesting that those people who want to come out and watch the parade get to the Heights as early as possible.
If you're there and set up by 6:30 or so, you'll be able to see the whole parade. Driving there at 6:30 or even before, we can't guarantee that the roads will be open. So the earlier the better. We think it's quite likely to jam up very, very early. So the best thing I can say is beat the rush.
Downtown this morning, people were getting ready for the Centennial barbecue and street dance. And despite the rain, the event began this afternoon and is scheduled to run through tomorrow night.
Just going to have to wait and see what the weather does as far as the bands and, their equipment. That's the biggest concern right now. So right at the moment, it's a go because, Montana weather, it's liable to change any second. Yeah.
The Metro was also a busy place today. Some workers were busy setting up the Centennial exhibit, while others set the stage for tonight's concert featuring Crystal Gale.
The real logistics problem for us tomorrow is to try to get all of the preparation work done late tonight, because we can't bring anybody in here after 6:30 in the morning. We become an island. So some of us literally will stay here tonight and work in preparation for tomorrow's activity.
The Centennial exhibit continues through tomorrow at the Metra. Country star Lee Greenwood will take the stage tomorrow night. In Billings, I'm Cindy Astle reporting for the news station.
Now here are some other places where you can watch the drive come into town. You might want to take some notes on this. Black Otter Trail in Swords Park, the west side of Main from 6th Avenue North to 1st Avenue North, 1st Avenue North to 13th Street, and on Minnesota Avenue from 13th Street to the public auction yards. And right now, Jay Cohn is with somebody who's been a little on the busy side this week. Jay?
Well, you're right, Gus. I'm with Cindy Olson of Malta, who is the first female wagon master in history, she tells me. She's from Malta and wagon master of the Orange Wagon Circle, as they're calling it. Cindy, what do you have to do to become a wagon master?
Well, I'm not sure what I had to do. I think, first of all, I was picked by the people in my county to be a county chairman, and then at several of the other meetings around the state, I guess some of the guys got together and decided I should be one of the wagon masters.
Now, we were riding on a wagon on our way to the final camp here this afternoon. I know it was exciting when you could finally see the sights of Billings, the airport in the distance. What was going through your mind, and what was the emotions in your wagon?
Well, I think with the people that were riding with me, it was like, oh, there's civilization. Darn, it's over, and what's next week going to be like? It's been so overwhelming. Next week's going to be kind of a letdown for all of us, I think.
Take a while to recover, I imagine. Tell me about some of the people in your wagon circle.
Oh, I have a tremendous circle. I have a gentleman from Glasgow. His name's Billy Uphouse, and he's like been my right-hand man all along. Randy Cumber, he's kind of outrode for me and hazed me through it all. We've all been horseback, but I've had so many things to do and think about. And then there's several wagons from Malta. Orhood's had a 6-horse hitch, and Dr. Curtis, and several wagons from Malta came down and to give support and everything, and that was really great. And we have a guy from Texas here, and people from Georgia, Maine. We have a lot of out-of-state people in our circle, and they have been so much fun.
It's an all-around group effort, I'm getting the feeling.
Oh, it is. Everyone there has just been really tremendous.
Okay, now when you get back to Malta, I imagine all your friends are going to come up and say, what was the greatest thing about it? What is the most memorable moment of the past 4 to 5 days for you?
The most memorable moment? One moment would be really hard to pick, but when we got into camp a couple nights ago, we all got off of our horses and tied them up, and it was really a hot industry trail, and it had been a long trail, and so all of us were kind of keyed, and we went down to the big tent, to find something and to drink, and one of the wranglers, who's also a friend, rode up on his horse, and we were standing there chatting, and one of the cowboys walked up and threw a pair of shaps under his horse, and the horse bucked around the tent and, kind kind of made a little show there. It was pretty exciting because everyone was there watching and cheering, and so that was pretty exciting.
So you're going to have a lot of stories to tell your grandkids, I imagine, a few years down the road.
You bet, I sure will.
Cindy Olson, first female wagon master in history from Malta. She's been enjoying herself. Let's go back to Gus right now.
Thanks, Jay. You know, as the week has progressed, everything has gotten better and better, except the weather. And Bob McGuire will join us in just a minute with more on that. Well, Bob McGuire is over here with a really hard-working and really young man. Yo, Robert, who's your friend?
Well, Gus, my friend right now, this is Ryan, and Ryan Ruchet, right? Rushi. And where are you from?
Wolf Point.
Wolf Point, I see. Well, now, you are the youngest person on the team, right? You're a teamster, right?
Yes.
So tell me, how was the weather today out there?
Oh, it was chilly and it was a little dusty, but it wasn't too bad. It was rough, the roads we were on.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you very much for being on the weather.
This week, we have not done much at all of what we are usually accused of doing. That's because of all the news that's come out of the cattle drive. We haven't had very much bad news to report. The weather's been good. No one on the drive has been seriously hurt. Of course, that's not to say that plans weren't made just in case. Right now, the news station's Patty Corrigan reports on a team of people who are on the trail to help everyone else survive the journey.
Another morning on the trail. Loading up the wagon.
High enough? Okay.
Saddling up the horses. The only thing is, it's not your basic bedroll getting loaded here. And these aren't your average campers. This is the medical wagon. And these are doctors and nurses.
Well, it is kind of like a MASH unit, and I think we could function as a MASH unit if we had to. We have the right mix of physicians. We have super nurses and EMTs.
And they have the National Guard. They pack all their personal bedding and such to free up the wagons for all the medical gear. A year of planning went into this detail, with about 20 medics, as I'll call them, strung out along the trail.
This is a very similar environment to what we would anticipate in war. The injuries are a little, different, but...
The injuries haven't been all that bad, actually. Some broken bones from being bucked, but nothing major, especially when you consider what could have happened.
When you consider how all of the horses were acting the first day and how along that roadway, we were very, very lucky, I think.
But they're ready for just about anything, with the latest in communications and high-tech medical gear.
We have monitors out here. We have instruments to defibrillate people. We can take care of coronaries out here until they're air evac'd out if we had any.
That's the only thing that stops it, though, is good solid pressure.
That's right. Most people won't push that hard.
The medical team is glad to tell you that they didn't need everything they brought. But then again, they're quick to add that there's one more day left, and they're keeping their fingers crossed. Along the trail, I'm Patty Corrigan reporting for the news station.
And we'll be right back with Jeff Rickard's Trailside Sports Report. We're only about a 20-minute drive from the station right now, but don't you feel like you're a world away from where we usually operate?
Big Valley. I'm waiting for Heath Barkley to come riding through any time here.
So what's going on in sports? I feel like I've been out of touch.
A couple of athletes riding through things at the U.S. Open today.
Before we went on the air, we two city slickers were complimenting each other on how we didn't have to go out and buy new belt buckles for the Centennial. I got one that I got in the 70s. You're telling me yours dates from the Territorial Centennial.
Right.
How does that compare with this? What do you think about all of this?
It's an interesting thing, Gus. The cattle drive is rather unique. You know, if someone said, we're going to punish you, and you're going to have to sit on the back of a horse until you're stiff and sore, and for 6 days you're going to be staring at the rear end of a cow and breathing dust, you'd probably start screaming that the United States Supreme Court has already ruled on capital punishment, cruel and unusual variety. But a lot of people are putting out good money for doing basically what I've just described and seem to be having a heck of a good time. About everybody I've talked to out here is having a lot of fun, and fun's one of the main reasons for celebrating a centennial. There are some critics who complain that the whole thing was rather loosely wound, and perhaps they're right, but maybe that's not all bad. In our day-to-day lives, most things are so structured and so organized that we've managed to squeeze out almost all of the fun. In the final analysis, the success of this drive is not going to be on whether it made an awful lot of money or whether the cows passed point B on the map at 2:15 on a Wednesday afternoon precisely as scheduled. The success is going to be determined by whether 15 years from now, the people who participated look back and said, I had a heck of a good time. I wouldn't have missed that thing in the world. I think it is going to be a success, and a lot of credit belongs to the people who have spent hundreds of hours making this thing happen, to the corporate sponsors who truly came through and put their money where their mouth was. And as far as I'm concerned, Gus, this thing is a real winner.
Oh, huge. We've talked to people who've come here from all over the world. I talked to a man from Switzerland. I said, did you come here just for the drive? He said, yes, just for the cattle drive.
It's amazing.
Isn't that remarkable?
Is amazing. But I think that the people who participated in this thing are never going to forget it.
Now, this is not completely unfamiliar surroundings for you.
Now, I grew up in country like this, over in White Sulphur Springs, about 150 miles from here, and spent the first 18 years of my life. But I never was a great cowboy, but I learned not to put the hat on backwards.
Those old skills never leave you.
No, they never
like
do.
Riding a horse or a bicycle.
That's right.
Thanks, Vic. Now, of course, this great Centennial cattle drive reminds all of us of Montana's colorful western heritage, but let's not make any mistakes about it. Cattle drives 100 years ago were nothing like this. Jay Cohn explains that.
Cal, are you on here? Cal Winslow?
I am.
Cal, I'm getting a few, some complaints about...
Yeah, partner, you can bet the old-time drovers never had it like this. The Great Centennial Cattle Drive may be reminiscent of Montana's first 100 years, but organizers of the event have taken advantage of the latest high-tech communications gear to ensure that the drive comes off as smooth as possible.
And, Motorola came in and gave us hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment and technical expertise, and that's just saved our tail on this thing from day one.
As the official communications sponsor of the cattle drive, Motorola Incorporated has equipped more than 150 key officials with portable two-way radios. The system is supplemented with 8 mobile phones, 4 base stations, a computer center, and wagons full of support gear. But not everyone was sold on the idea at first.
We had allocated some for certain people, and they said no, they didn't need them, and then they'd show up 2 days later and screaming for their radios, and they've used them heavily ever since.
Bonnie Milligan of Laurel, who is handling much of the catering for the cattle drive, had her doubts at first, but quickly realized that high-tech was the only way to go.
And I don't see how anybody could do without it at this point. Nothing else would have worked as well. You know, even runners or a telephone wouldn't have worked as well, because we're all listening to what other people had to say, and we could help each other by doing that.
It's taken a lot of the frustration out of the cattle drive. In other words, people that need answers right now can get answers right now.
Cattle drive officials aren't the only ones using state-of-the-art equipment. It seems nearly everyone has their personal camcorder on hand to record the historic event, and cowhands have even been able to phone home on pay telephones that somehow seem to be sprouting out of nowhere. Along the cattle drive trail near Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for the news station.
Right now we're going to go over here to the news station's Paul Kenny, who is with a man who deserves all of the best wishes and congratulations that I'm sure he's been getting. Latigo President Dick Walker. Paul?
Yes, indeed, Gus. We're talking to the main cowpoke out here, Dick Walker, president of Latigo. First of all, Dick, you guys have been putting this together for about the past year and a half, and you would think you'd be able to come out here and take it easy, but no, tell everybody what you've been doing during the cattle drive.
Well, I've been doing a lot of things, but I've mainly been traveling with the horse wranglers. I tell you what, there is a lifetime experience there. They're the most professional people in the world at their skill, and I've just been honored that they'd let me stay in their camp. And you know, they haven't lost a horse out of the loose horse herd, and we sent 24 head back to the drovers camp. And these guys are pretty proud of what they do. And
Speaking of proud, you must be very proud of the way everything's gone.
I am. I tell you what, when I look out here at this camp, I think about all the people that have helped make this work. And, you know, it's really and truly a Montana effort. I mean,
and there were points in times where you thought maybe things weren't going to get underway.
Oh, sure. You know, we had our ups and downs. It was a roller coaster ride, but it had to be a Montana effort. It had to be everybody in Montana that wanted to make it work. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people out there in Montana that are going to be sorry they weren't a part of this, because I don't think you'll ever see this at this scale again in Montana or anywhere. I mean, this has got to be the greatest event that Montana has ever seen.
Is it sad everything's coming to a close? We only have this night, then tomorrow morning into Billings. Is this a sad moment for you? Mixed emotions? At one point, by golly, we made it, we did it, and then, oh no, I'm going to lose all my friends that I've met out here. What's the feelings you're going through right now?
Well, I got mixed emotions. Sure, I'm glad it's over. I was concerned early on that it would work. It came off beyond our wildest expectations. Deep down, I knew it could be done by the people that made it work.
But you're also talking about a reunion.
Hey, we're talking already. My horse wranglers down there, we're talking about trailing some horses. We're going to head from somewhere north, Malta, someplace. We might end up in Wyoming next year, because they're going to have their Centennial, if they'll have us. But we're going to do it again. We're not going to wait 5 years. We're going to do it next year.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dick Walker. The main cowpoke out here, Dick Walker, president of Latigo. Now back over to you, Gus.
Thanks, Paul. In just a moment, I'll look at some of the people who have been looking at the cattle drive so they can show and tell others what they see. The cattle drive is getting more than a fair share of media attention. There's an understatement for you. Stations from Colorado, Utah, France, Japan have been here covering the drive. Even CNN's Ted Turner came along and rode on the trail for a day. Right now, the news station's Jen Marnowski takes a look at what the press from the Soviet Union thinks about the drive.
This is Boris. He's the Soviet journalist covering the cattle drive. He says they've never had anything in the Soviet Union even close to a cattle drive.
It's for the first time, and we don't have anything like that in our country. Well, I enjoy it very much. So many cowboys at the same time. It's fun.
He seems impressed with the drive. In Montana, too.
I like the idea that you still have area where people can be closer to the land, to the nature, and enjoy it. And we like the idea of organizing such a great cattle drive, because it means that you keep your tradition and you want to restore the habits which, well, you had 100 years ago. It's a part of the history.
Boris works for TASS, the Soviet news agency, and he's been working in Washington, D.C. for the last 4 months. He says he can already tell the difference between Montana and Washington is like night and day.
There is enormous difference, and it's very good from time to time to have a chance to come here and to see these mountains, the prairies, to enjoy it.
Just north of Billings, I'm Jen Marnowski, reporting for the news station.
Now, you might get the idea that we're finding out all the things we are just on our own because we're crack journalists. Well, we like to think we are, but we're getting a lot of help. And Patty Corrigan is with someone who's been helping us. Patty?
Thanks, Gus. I'm with Mike Murphy. He's the man who was in charge of us all week. He kept the media in line. And was it as tough a job as you really thought it was? Were we that big of a pain?
No. You know, I was kind of warned that all this big-time press from out of state, some of them might be a little pushy and shovey. Well, nobody was. They were the nicest people, and they were so grateful for all the things that we were trying to show them and teach them, and the international press were absolutely the entertainment to our circle. Those French guys were just pistols. They came in every day just having a blast. The whole thing was, we were all walking about 6 feet off the air every day, all day long, and we'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and kick them all out of their beds and get them on their horses and chase them over to the cow herd or wherever they needed to go to do their filming and interviewing, and we just had a lot of fun.
Was the international press probably had a lot of different questions that the American press and local press didn't have. Did you have any special questions for them or any needs for the international people?
Well, they needed to understand. They didn't really understand the logistics of what it took to have their horse. They'd show up and say, "Where's my horse?" Well, we had 60 horses and several people around, and The first night we lost track of which saddle went to which horse. Everybody unsaddled their horses. Well, they weren't supposed to do that. And so we've got horses and saddles mixed up, and we're trying to get that all squared away before the big show tomorrow. And we're going to have a lot of press going right down that highway tomorrow into town. And I think they're as excited about it as most of them are saying this is the most incredible experience they've ever had.
And Gus, we owe a lot to this man right here.
We certainly do, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mike. Be right back with a lot more. You know, this out here has become what we could think of as a moving community. And of course, in any community, you have stores, places where you can buy things. Well, the news station's bargain hunter, Paul Kenny, found out that there are a lot of things you can get out here, and some things you can't.
Pay attention, you darn horse, and listen to my story. It's about souvenirs, what you can, what you can't buy out here on the trail. Sure, there's hats and buttons and scarves up for grabs, but the biggest seller, beer tickets. The only problem is the souvenir beers don't last very long. T-shirts saying I rode in the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive are also going fast. Anita bought one.
Well, this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and I just wanted to have something to remember by.
Did you buy a shirt for your horse?
No, didn't make him big enough.
Okay. You know, there's even been some talk about selling the horse and cow manure that's fallen along the way. The thinking is this is Centennial manure. There'll never be anything like it. But I'm not so convinced it will sell. Would you buy it?
No, I don't think so.
How about would you take it for free?
No, it looks about the same as stuff I got at home.
Hey, you darn horse, I told you to listen up. That's better. This cowpoke souvenir, a sore foot. His horse stepped on him twice.
Awful sore foot there.
Debbie, who just got married 3 days ago, also found something to take home, and it's not her husband.
Yeah, we found a 1923 Montana license plate that we thought was kind of neat.
What are some things you wish you could buy out here?
Well, there's a nice looking little pony over there that I've been keeping my eyes on.
I'd like to take it home with you.
Yeah, and if I don't see that guy tonight, I might just do that too.
Hey, horse, were you listening to me? Along the trail, Paul Kenny reporting for the news station.
Paul, how you doing out there?
Pretty good. How about you, partner?
Not bad. Wish I was with you.
Well, right now, you call me Paul. First of all, let me get something clear. Out here, they call me Sheriff Paul. I don't know if you can see the badge, but I'm a self-appointed sheriff. That's the best of kind, so I'm the lawman out here. And you know, Gus, everything's going fine. We do have a little bit of rain, but who cares? It's the last day of the cattle drive. We've eaten dust for a number of days, so what's wrong with a little bit of rain? And as you well know, today is the last night of the cattle drive, and emotions are mixed. On the one hand, people are excited, knowing they've conquered the trail. But most of the people we talk to are kind of sad. When the cattle drive comes to an end tomorrow, it will mean saying goodbye to a number of friends and a way of life that everyone out here has kind of gotten used to. The final night of the cattle drive, and under the big tent is where everyone came to party together one last time. All the singers, all the poets who came along on the drive climbed up on stage to show off their talent, and the people loved it.
I propose a toast, and it goes like this. We drank to your health on cattle drives. We drank to your health in our home. We've drank to your health so damn many times we've almost ruined our home.
A toast only seemed appropriate on this night. Many of these people who were strangers 4 days ago are now best of friends and are sad to see the drive coming to an end.
Just been a fun trip overall, and they really enjoyed themselves, and it got over too soon.
I'm not ready to go home. I'd like to go for a couple more days anyway.
Everybody's been super. Montana must be full of super people.
Yeah, this comes from the big drive of 89.
Oh, Montana Red Eye. Yeah.
Right down.
Take it back to Kansas with you.
Oh,
yeah, take it back to Kansas. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
We're set. I've got over 1,000 pictures of this from day one.
The guy from Minnesota.
And his yesterday.
My birthday today,
and yesterday it was Dean's birthday.
The final night of the drive.
Oh, what a friendly and wild night this should be. Along the trail, Paul Kenny reporting for the news station.
A big day for Billings and a big day for the participants of the Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive. After 6 days and 60 miles on the trail, riders with their horses, wagons, and over 3,000 cattle this morning made an emotional and triumphant entrance into Billings. The cattle drive now becomes part of America's history. Good evening, I'm Cindy Astle. Patty Corrigan is heading up our coverage tonight from the Metro. And Patty, you were out in the Heights this morning for the arrival of the cattle drive into Billings. It was quite an emotional event, wasn't it?
Well, you know, Cindy, it was emotional all week long, and today was no different. I think everybody realizes what we were allowed to take part in, or at least witness this whole week. The whole cattle drive and the wagon train was put together so we can appreciate our heritage and understand a little bit more about our history. And in fact, as you said, this has now become history itself. It finished up the last of the nearly 60 miles early this morning, and as the wagons and the riders and the cattle paraded down Main Street, they were welcomed back to the 20th century. The people came early. Some had staked out their spots as early as yesterday, and they were ready for the greatest sight of the century. The Great Montana Centennial Cattle Drive had finally reached Billings. If it had seemed that the pride and exuberance had been missing from Billings, it was brought back into town with these people who had lived together on the trail for the last week.
All right, guys. Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah?
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, it's quite a show. It'll be something that everybody will never forget.
The wagons slowly made their way down Main Street as the 20th century welcomed them back with cheers and applause and lots of well wishes.
Hey! Hey, how's it going?
I just think it's really neat. And I'm from North Dakota originally, and I saw a North Dakota one go by, so I just think it's nice. It was worth getting up at 5 o'clock and coming over here.
Hey, this is great, man.
And then came the cattle. Good idea to take a picture. Nobody'd believe it if they didn't see it. No runaways and no stampedes. The herd just took a leisurely walk down Main Street.
Hell of a job, Ed. A lot of fun.
What are you going to tell your friends who weren't here this morning? What are you going to tell them they missed? How would you describe this?
I just say they missed a lot.
Happy birthday, Montana!
You know, there was an estimate that there were 50,000 people out to see today's parade, and while we were all watching the herd and the riders and the wagons make their triumphant entrance back into Billings, the riders and the Teamsters and the Rovers were watching us at the same time. The news station's Gus Kernick was right along with them.
You ready? Yeah. Ready to go. From Roundup to Billings, wagons ho! Let's go!
That order from Gwen McKittrick, the wagon master, drove all the fatigue from everyone who'd ridden and worked too many hours and slept too few. But no one was thinking about the hours and miles. All at once we realized we were living a moment in history. The people lining Main Street loved all of us, and we were all the best of friends.
It was a wonderful thing to be a part of. I've never been or experienced anything that was as exciting and
sent shivers up my spine. It's the greatest experience I've ever had. I've never been involved in anything of this size, and for a better cause.
I'll tell you what, the emotion that overcame me was just, it was tough. It was a wonderful feeling to know we're here and to be able to say that we accomplished what we set out to do. And
That was such an incredible experience to come into town and have the people cheering us on, and glad we were there and glad that we'd done it, and glad to be a part of it. They were as much a part of it as we were.
This is like Christmas. It's like the 4th of July. It's like your birthday. The best graduation party you ever went to. It's magic, and it's an incredible achievement on the part of these people.
You know, once the drive reached Billings, the top 100 steers were pulled out of the herd for the Centennial auction at the Metra. Over 100 pieces of art and Centennial memorabilia were sold, including an 1889 Colt pistol carried by Senator Max Baucus during the drive. Organizers were forced to end the auction an hour early because of the Lee Greenwood concert. After a final tally of the money raised at the auction won't be available until all the items are sold. During and after the auction, thousands of people traveled to the Metro Park Fairgrounds to catch a glimpse of some of the wagons, the horses, and the cowboys that traveled the 60 miles from Roundup to Billings. And the cowpokes were happy to oblige them and show them what they had been doing all week. Paul Kenny was there. He has this report.
And then I'll reach that old campground juice stand.
The long drive might be over, but partner, where there are cowboys, where there are guitars, the cattle drive spirit will play on. As the music played, thousands at the Metro Park experienced parts of the drive firsthand. Seeing the wagons, seeing the animals which hoofed it 60 miles was a treat that couldn't be passed up.
I'm a Montana cowboy on the range riding free.
It has been very humbling. It's been beautiful. Beautiful to watch all these people put something on that is so great.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I want my picture taken.
Dancing Western style also kept people busy today. And to top off the evening, country western star Lee Greenwood performed in concert. The Garrett brothers, though, started things off with a tribute to Montana.
All in all, it's been just a great week. Everybody had a good time, and we've certainly kicked it off the right way tonight.
Patty, along with you and everyone else at the news station, I spent a lot of time out there this week, and a friendly group of people. I know some strong friendships were formed. What's the mood like out there? Are people sad to see the cattle drive come to an end?
Well, you know, interesting enough, Cindy, I don't know if you can see much behind me, but there's a group of the wagon teams over there, the people who traveled on the wagon train, who opted not to go in to hear Lee Greenwood. They've got some Montana entertainers here around a campfire, and they'd rather be with their own company than to join the people from town who came down to see Lee Greenwood.
I like them. I agree with them. That was my favorite part, too, the campfire. Thanks a lot, Patty.
Yeah.
What more can we say about the drive? Well, just this. It was the Treasure State's greatest week in 100 years, and it was the ride of a lifetime.